Hi guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers, and I'm just going to do this handover video on this Hymer Eriba. So this is on a left-hand drive. These would normally be on a right-hand drive model. This would normally be a Fiat Ducato or a Peugeot Boxer, but because it is the left-hand drive, it is on the Citroen jumper. It is the same vehicle, but it's just got a different badge on it basically. So exactly the same as the Fiat Ducato and the Peugeot Boxer. So I'm just going to run you through under the bonnet first. So we are based on the 2003. And so on the left hand side here, we've got your engine battery. Engine coolant sits in this reservoir at the top. Power steering fluid in this reservoir here at the front. The engine oil filling point and the engine oil dipstick are just here with the yellow caps. Brake fluid attached to the servo behind it is just here over on the right, obviously because you're on a left-hand drive it would normally be on the other side there, but there you go. And your air filter sits inside this box here, and the washer fluid in the one there with the blue cap. You have got some fuses and relays underneath this little cover here, and there's normally a couple in here as well behind this, two 10mm, just take that out. So on the front near side we've got the diesel filling point. Now this is diesel only, as in there's no AdBlue or anything like that to worry about, so it's just diesel. And to open the bonnet, you've got a little handle just there above the clutch pedal. You have also got the main sort of fuse bank is behind this little cover here. Got another one the same over on the off side there. So if you needed to get to any of the fuses for the engine side of things, it's more than likely going to be in one of those just there. I'll run you through the cab as I get around to it on the other side, but for the minute I'll stick to the outside. So first little cover we get to is going to be this one here. This is your hookup point. So if you do have access to a hookup cable, I always recommend it if you can. It will give you access to any of your 240 volt appliances. It also means that the 240 volt charger will be switched on, so that any time that you're plugged in, you don't have to worry about the charge in the leisure battery at all, because you'll basically be fully charged. Next door to that, we've got the freshwater filling point, which is also behind a cover here. And underneath we have got, this is your wastewater drain off point. So anytime you want to drain out the wastewater, you go to there. The freshwater drain is just to the left of that. If I can get to it, there you go. So that is your freshwater drain off point there. So literally just turning that little lever there, the red one, will drain out your fresh tank. So the waste is always the one that's looked sort of bigger like that. So that's nice and easy to get to. All right, so the next thing we get to is this little circular vent here on the outside. So this is to do with your boiler. So at the moment I've got the heating system on, so I can feel hot air coming out through the bottom of that. It will also blow like that if we've got the hot water on, because this is a gas only heating and hot water system. It's a Truma Combi boiler, so it does heating and hot water, so the same one system does both. So that's, if you want to just double check that it's definitely working, basically pop your hand underneath and you will feel hot air. Towards the back on the near side here, we've got the toilet cassette locker. So this is your standard Thetford toilet cassette. So to remove this, we lift up on the little yellow tab here and pull the cassette towards us. All you need to know from there, it's really simple from there, is you've got the yellow cap here to actually drain it out, so that's where the fluid comes out from. And towards the back of the cassette, you've got a little yellow button there, which is the button you need to be holding down as you're emptying it out. It's an air pressure release valve, and it will help all coming out nice and smoothly. But that's it really. Blue fluid goes inside here, and you've got a fresh water flush, so you don't have to worry about any flush fluids. Sometimes on the case of flush fluid, if you've got a vehicle like this one that hasn't got a flush reservoir, it can be an idea to get a spray bottle of the pink fluid. The pink fluid really just keeps the bowl lubricated inside, so if you don't use that ever, then it can get a little bit drying, you know. So it might be an idea to get a little spray bottle there. So you can get the unmixed pink fluid. So what I would recommend is get a spray bottle, put about 1/10 of it, you know, the pink fluid, into the bottle, and the rest of it water, and then use it as a spray can for the actual toilet bowl itself. So that's probably the easiest way to do it. So at the back we've got the bike rack and reversing camera. Nice big window, lots of natural light coming in through there. And then on the off side here we've got absolutely loads of storage underneath the fixed bed. Let's do these sensors, I think. Yeah, okay, so nothing really to point out here at the back. This here is your awning winder. The awning has come out as part of the habitation check and lubricated, just to make sure that it's all working properly. So these 3 vents just here, so you've got 1 at the bottom, 2 at the top. These are basically to do with the back of the fridge and the back of the grill and oven. So because the grill and oven sits just literally on top of the fridge, it does have to have its own little vent there for access as well. So if you ever needed to get to the back of the fridge for any reason, so, you know, I mean, really that's for us, like for doing, you know, servicing the fridges or sort of fixing any issues, but you got really good access for those fridges there. Nice and easy to get to all the parts. Burner sits at the bottom, and it's all just electrical stuff at the top really, so it would normally be the bottom one to come off. As I said, I'm going to run through the inside in just a minute, but I will just point out the left hand rocker switch there is to do with your step, and that will bring the step in and out electronically, and it works really nicely. You have also got, just whilst we're on the outside, you have also got this secondary lock here. So these are super strong, and it's just like a secondary kind of safety thing. You've got if I just show you, this key just here, which looks a bit like a house key really. That's the one that goes in there for the secondary lock. The last locker to run you through on here is the gas locker. So if I just lift this up, so in the gas locker we've got space for 2 of these 6 kilo propane bottles. Looks like you've got a new pigtail and possibly even a new regulator as well. We'll just have a little look at that. Yeah, it looks pretty new to me. Whether we've done it or not, I'm not sure. I don't think we have actually, but yeah, all looking nice and new in there. Clearly been sort of, you know, habitation checked in the past recently and things like that. So all you need to know really is that you turn the bottle on by going anti-clockwise around to the left, turn the bottle off by going all the way down clockwise to the right. You need to make sure that you turn the bottle off before you start driving, because the last thing you want is pressurized gas in the van if you know, are in an accident or something. You haven't got to worry about anything up there on the regulator. This here is just basically an isolator so that we can test from this testing point. But you know, that's all there is to it really. It's pretty straightforward. So yeah, just turning it on and off as and when you need it. You have also got, Hymer have always done this, just a little flap here just in case, you know, helps you get it out nice and easy basically. So that's what that's for there. So I'm going to drop this down and then show you through the cab. So the cab is, well, pretty straightforward really. There's not a huge amount to these ones, but I will show you. So we've got the lights on and off switch on the left hand stalk. Washers and wipers are on the right. 5-speed manual gearbox, where reverse is lift up and it's towards you and up for reverse there. Electric adjusting mirrors and windows from the from on your left hand side here. Reversing camera screen is just there. All of your sort of heater controls and things like that are all here. This is all pretty self-explanatory stuff. You have got a new radio in there. The old one was a little bit temperamental, so we put a new one in, and that is actually a nice Pioneer head unit. So you've got looks like it's got Bluetooth, USB, CD player, all the standard goodies nowadays. So, new stereo. I think that's about it really. I mean, you've got the blind across the front there, which will pull up and hook over these kind of corner parts of the sun visor to hold themselves up. But yeah, that's about it really, I think, for the cab. So I'm just going to pull this door to. Right. So the more interesting part, more than likely, is going to be in the van itself. So as soon as you walk in the habitation door, right above your head, we've got this control panel. So these control panels by Hymer are so simple. It's unbelievable. So what we've essentially got is a level indicator for the engine battery by pushing up. So you can see there 12 volts. Leisure battery voltage, also 12 volts, absolutely fine. Freshwater level, so we're empty on the freshwater. And your waste tanks. So I think there may only just be one waste tank on this one, but if not, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, you've got two indicator switches just there. So they're basically, that's your waste level, fresh level, and then engine and leisure battery voltages. All right, so that's essentially all that is up there. Couple of switches just here, which one of them's for your awning light, and the other one is going to be for a different light somewhere else, but I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember which one that's for, but they are both doing something. So yeah, but I think this one here is for the awning light, and it will tell you on the little light on the button there, it will tell you when it's on. The little black thing in the middle up here is your thermostat for the boiler. So when you have that lit up on the gas, like I do at the moment, you can probably hear it. That's a thermostat which will tell it when to turn itself on and off, basically. So try your best not to press on that because they are quite brittle. So that's the control panel up there. So, you know, really simple. Switches here does our lights up here either side of the skylight. And as I say, this is your step light, step switch, sorry, and another light switch to the right of that. So, what should I run through first? I'm just going to have a little look and just make sure there's nothing in the... I didn't do the hab check on this particular van, so it's all a little bit new to me. I'm just going to run through and make sure there's nothing I'm going to miss out. So, we've got the 240 volt Whirlpool. This is like a microwave oven, basically. So, really simple how to use it. All of it's, you know, touch screen, and on the front there's there. If you want to pull this out at all, you can do that by moving that out of the way, and then you can pull it towards you like that. So it's really simple and easy to get to. That just comes down with a little cover to hide that. It would have been originally where the TV would have sat, I would have thought. I'll just pop that over. So TV bracket is just down here. So nice and easy to get to. It's probably the more realistic place to put it, really. So you can have both of these front seats swiveled around if you want to have a TV on like that. Two forward-facing seat belts just here, and by the way, the owner of the vehicle have taken the cushions for you know, recovering, basically. That's why they're not there. So yeah, two over-the-shoulder seat belts. Your freshwater tank sits just here underneath this seat. So the bit over here on the right, that is the filling point that I showed you on the outside. And you can open this up here and get access to the inside as well if you want to. Okay, so once the power's on, should I turn this heater off now because it's quite noisy. Once the power's on, you can then use your water pump. Now at the moment, as I showed you a minute ago, we don't have any water in the fresh tank. All right, so that's not going to be drawing any water up. So if I just quickly explain to you how you have to kind of go about it, as long as you've got some water in the tank, which, as I say, I don't have any at the moment, so I can't really show you it exactly, but as long as you've got some water in the tank, first thing you're going to want to do to make sure that the boiler is full of water is come to the tap, pull the water through on the cold side, wait for it to come through nice and clear, turn it around to the hot, wait for it to come through nice and clear again, and then you can turn it off. So the reason that that works, and the reason that you have to do that, is that the boiler itself is the first in line for the hot water, basically. So before any of the hot water has, or the hot side of the tap will draw any water through to it, the boiler itself has to be full. All right. So that's the, you know, there's not a manual filling point or anything like that for the boiler. So you have to fill it up by doing what I've just done there. And if you don't get any water coming through the tap, it just means that you've either not got enough water in your tank or the boiler's not full yet. So just wait for it to come through nice and clearly, hot and cold, and then you can forget about that and you can do whatever you like. But the reason I say that is that if you do try and light the boiler up on gas and try to heat the water up, if there's nothing in it, you know, so for example, right now, if I don't have any water in the boiler right now and I light this up on the gas for 60 degrees of hot water, you know, what am I doing? I'm heating up nothing at all, and it will probably overheat. So it is important to make sure that you have got water in the boiler before you start trying to heat it up, basically. If you just want some heating, that's absolutely fine. You know, that's what I just had on just then. So if you want to just use the heating on the boiler switch, it's fine. But it is important to make sure that you can fill the boiler up first before trying to get hot water coming out. So yeah, that's the sort of hot and cold water situation. I always like to run through that because it is, you know, the boiler itself is more than likely the most expensive part in the whole vehicle. So you know, you want to look after it as best you can. So just checking that you've got hot and cold water coming through, very important. But there you go. Right, so you've got a 2-burner hob over here, so you will need an igniter of some description to light either of these up, because they don't come with a ignition. If it did have an ignition, it would have been in here, but these ones don't. So igniter for those two. To pop this little bit away here, the reason they give you this is so that you don't like sort of start to warp or damage the veneer here, you know, the Fablon stuff that they put on top of it. So to pop that away, pull it out flat like that, lift it up, over, and then it sits down on top of these hinges, and that stops it from falling out when you lift this. All right, so that is how you use that. I'll just pop this cover down on here. I'm going to run you through the boiler stuff in a minute and all these appliances, but I'm just going to quickly point out something down here, because I'm more than likely to forget otherwise. So pretty much all of your electrical bits and pieces are down here. All right, so we've got your 240 volt trip switch, a 12 volt isolator, and 12 volt fuses. So, you know, basically if you have any issues with anything, it's more than likely going to be something to do with this area here. This little heater thing over here, this is to do with when your engine's running. So if you have passengers in the back, you can use that heater there, and it'll basically use engine heat to heat up the back of the vehicle as well as the front. So obviously you've got your standard heating in the front there on the cab, but on these sort of more high-end vehicles, especially the German ones, they quite often give you these little rear heaters as well. So it's a nice little thing to have. Okay, so I'm just going to run you through the oven and grill. So oven and grill is a decent size. Some of these come in an even smaller version of this, which really, you know, normally would just be a grill, to be fair, but these ones are an oven as well. So to light the oven up, we turn this round and push in. That will then light up the gas for the oven. You do need to hold on to it just for a few seconds to let that thermocouple warm up. Now I've let go of that. So that's how you use the oven. Obviously, close the window up. You probably can't see in there now, but close that up, and then you've got the oven on. Back round to the middle, turns that off. In and round to the right, lights up the grill. Sometimes you need to give these a little blow. There you go. Just to light up the other side. So it's a good example, really. You know, sometimes you do have to do that. It's not unusual to have to do that. But there you go. That is the grill. As I say, the oven side of it is normally a little bit more smooth to light up, but sometimes because the grill has to light up both sides, so the ignition is this little bit just here, so this side will always light up easy, but it has to go all the way up and all the way back down the other side as well. So sometimes having to give it a little blow there will allow that end piece to light up and then light up the other side as well. Just, you know, to give it a little bit of a helping hand basically. So that is the grill at the top. You have also got, this is the high spec one, so you've got the if you want to use it or not, it's up to you, but you've got a rotisserie part in there and a light as well. I did notice that the rotisserie thing is down, where did I see it? In here perhaps, yeah. So this is the rotisserie. If you want to use that, go for it. Okay, so that was the oven and grill. The fridge directly underneath it. This is a 3-way fridge, and it is also an automatic energy selecting fridge. So it's basically like a high spec one that you could get at the time. So you've got a main on and off switch here on the left. Press and hold on that, we'll turn it off. And you'll probably notice what you've got is, so if I turn it on, it will automatically select one of the 3 energies that you've got there. And the reason it'll do that is because it's just basically copying what it had on last. So I had it on gas just a second ago, so it's chosen gas again. So you can then flick through and choose which energy you want it to use. All right, so I'll just leave it on gas for a sec, just whilst I explain this. So this one on the left-hand side is your automatic energy selector. All right, so theoretically it should choose the most efficient energy to use on this fridge at any one time. Okay, so really at the moment it should select gas because I haven't got the engine running, so I can't use 12 volt, which is the battery symbol. And I haven't got a hookup cable plugged in, so I can't use the hookup symbol. So the only way I can use it is gas. So the reason I'm sort of explaining that is that sometimes these automatic parts will be wrong, which it is there. Okay, so it's then chosen 12 volt. We can't use 12 volt at the moment, so that's wrong. So it's a bit of a shame really, because a lot of these, you know, the idea of the automatic energy selector, you know, is nice, but quite often they will choose the wrong one. So quite an important thing. I just wanted to explain that to you. If I was you, I would just select it manually as often as you can. So if I just explain how it works. So as I said, at the moment I've got the gas switched on, but I don't have a hookup plugged in, so I can only really use the gas. So that's why I've selected gas. You've then got temperature gauge on the right, and then you can just adjust that as and when you need to. So the gas and the hookup are the only 2 energies that will get this fridge cold. All right, the 12 volt one there is for when your engine's running only, and all that does is keep the temperature inside the fridge. All right, it's too big of a fridge and too small of an element for the 12 volt to actually get the fridge cold from warm. Okay, so I mean, you'd have to be driving for days basically to get the fridge cold on 12 volt. Now the reason it only works, the 12 volt, the reason the 12 volt there only works when your engine's running is because you've got something called a split charger. So what a split charger is basically the alternator under the bonnet. As you're driving along, like any other car does, the alternator will be charging the engine battery. But in a motorhome, or a decent brand of motorhome, you've also got a split charger. So it splits some of that power off from the alternator and sends some of it back to the leisure as well. So that all the time that you're driving, the leisure battery is also being charged up. So that also sends a signal wire back to the fridge, and so that you can basically keep the fridge cold via your engine. So that's what the 12 volt symbol is for. All the time that you haven't got the engine on, as I said, you do have to be on either gas or 240 volt electric. If you have got a hookup plugged in, I would always recommend using it on the hookup. It's just easier, I find, and you haven't got to worry about any gas flame being on, basically. The gas itself has lit up absolutely fine every single time and is working really, really well. And, you know, the gas and the electric will be equally good at getting the fridge cold. But, you know, if you think about it, when you get a new fridge at home, which obviously isn't very often, but when you do, it doesn't get cold in 10-15 minutes. Yeah, so this is a decent sized fridge. This will take a good 3 or 4 hours to get cold. So it's really important that if you're going to go away on holiday tomorrow morning, you might want to think about lighting this up or turning it on the mains the night before, and then switching it over to 12 volt when you head off, because it will take that sort of time to get properly cold. So that's how you use the fridge. Nice and easy. So next appliance, well, the last appliance really, is your Trumatic C boiler. So this is the Truma Combi, basically. So really simple how to use this. What you've essentially got is the outside ring twists on its own. So you've got 40 or 60 degrees, and that is hot water. So that's hot water only going up at either 40 or 60. Back down to the middle, turns the boiler completely off. If you go down once, that's heating only. And down 2 is heating and hot water, and that's at 60 degrees. So if it's a winter's day, you know, if it's like it is at the moment, it's quite cold outside, you might want heating and hot water at the same time. So you go all the way to the bottom, or you might just want heating on its own. If it's a summer's day and you just want a hot shower, you go up 1 or up 2 for hot water only. And that is literally, that's it. This ring in the middle that goes 1 all the way through to 9, that's basically just a speed setting for if you've got the heating on, you just want to turn it right up and go for it, then you can do that from there. But so simple. A lot of the time, the versions of this that have got electric as well can be a little bit confusing to get your head around, but these ones are so simple. So this is a gas-only boiler. So yeah, that's that. So in this wardrobe here, we've got your tilt and turn TV aerial. We've also got something that's a little bit unusual to see, especially even for me, you know, as I see these vehicles all the time. I don't think I'd ever seen this before, if I'm honest. This is a water tank, and the water tank itself is for your little aircon unit that you've got on the roof. So what it's essentially got, a water tank there, a pump next door to it, and then on the side of the aircon unit, you'll see there's a switch there that says pump. Okay, so when you want to use the air conditioning, you have to switch that pump on, and this is a 240 volt appliance, so you will have to have the hookup plugged in. But you switch that pump on, and it'll basically just like a normal, more modern aircon unit. It will just have to manually switch the pump on to pump the water around to get it working. But that's what it's for. I was very confused when I first opened this wardrobe up and saw it, but that is what it's for. So you know, that's all been checked, all works, and so yeah. It was a new one on me, but learned something new. All right, I'm just going to take these bits out of the way just so I can show you in this little cubby hole. So the boiler itself is this black topped unit down here, and as you can see, you can get to it from this little flap here nice and easily. So the only bit that you need to know about, to be fair, is this little bit over here on the right. So this little pull-up drain. Okay, so that is what you'd call an automatic dropout valve, and the reason that you have those is, so for example, if we had this vehicle outside, I mean, to be fair, it has done it, so it's got so cold this morning that this automatic dropout valve decided to drop all the water out of the boiler. And the reason it does that is so that it can't freeze up inside and cause any damage. So, you know, if you ever find that you try and draw the water through the tank, the pump here on the hot side, and nothing's coming through, and you know, say, oh, okay, so for example, if you were using it the night before and it was all working fine, you wake up the next morning and there's nothing coming through, it's more than likely because this little dropout valve here has pushed itself down. So in that case, if you come in here and notice that it is down, all you have to do is reach in and pull it up. Okay, once it's pulled up and it stays up, you can then fill it back up again by putting the hot water through and waiting for it to come back through again. But that's all it is. That's what that little dropout valve is there. Obviously, you can drop that out manually just by pushing it in like that. That will drain all the water out from the boiler and then pull it back up. Once it's pulled up, that's then closed off and it will fill back up. So that is the boiler drain off point. If you find, I will just say this, I mean, I don't normally say this because it's a bit of a, not a great thing for me to say really, but if you do find that gives you more trouble than it's worth, the automatic dropout valve, this goes for any, I mean, most of these boilers have got these dropout valves. But if in the future you find that it gives you more trouble than it's worth, you can swap them out for the older version, which is just a manual one, basically, which is a little yellow tab. Sometimes people opt for that because it just means that you don't have to worry about it just dropping out randomly. But you know, that's something for the future. If you find that that's, you know, that this gets annoying, then you can swap it out if you want to, but you don't have to do that. So pop these things back in here. Oh, that's the box for the new stereo, by the way, in there. Okay, so I think the last thing to run you through is going to be the bathroom. In the bathrooms, I very rarely run through anything apart from the toilet, to be fair, because it's, you know, you've literally just got hot and cold tap for the shower, very simple, and a hot and cold tap for the sink. You know, there's nothing else to it really. You got a little switch down here for the lights. But yeah. So because you've got a fresh water flush, you will need to make sure that you've got some water in the tank if you want to flush the toilet. Otherwise nothing's going to come through, which I'll point out to you in a second. So the toilet itself, the seat does swivel round, and you've got a little blue button at the back here, which is for the flush. And as you can see there, I'm pressing it and nothing's coming through. That's because there's no water in the tank. To drain into the actual cassette, pull this handle towards us. That then opens up this little flap, and then close it back over when you're finished. What is also quite important is to make sure that you do close that flap back over, because if you try and take the toilet cassette out from outside and that flap's open, you will break the toilet cassette. So yeah, it's just something to point out. Okay, so this bathroom door does come over nice and easy like that and closes off. But yeah, I think that is everything. If there is anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.